Our next topic is exception handling. So, what is exactly exception handling? What is an exception? So, let's discuss about all these things in this session. See, whenever we develop any project in real time, okay, whenever we develop any project in real time, it should work in all the circumstances, which means if any error occurs, so you have to tell the end user don't have knowledge on the Java, right? You have to give the user friendly message to the end user so that he can understand easily. Okay. Okay, fine. So now every technology, see, every technology, that can be a Java, that it can be a .NET, that can be any Python, every technology will be giving the you know runtime error messages. So, for example, runtime error messages are nothing but file not found exception. For example, array index out of bounds exception, array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so class not found exception, class not found exception. Okay, invalid arguments entered exception. Okay, invalid args entered exception. So these are the different types of exceptions actually, which is understandable by the programmers, but not the end users. So we used to call these as a system error messages. We used to call it as these error messages called. We used to call these errors are we used to call these error as system error messages, because system is generating. Okay, so you are using one application, and the application, you if you are entering the wrong input, the application will throw a error. Okay, so which is understandable. These system error messages can be understandable by the developers only, not the not the end users. Okay, I can say that runtime errors in Java are known as exceptions. These are the exceptions. System error messages are those which are unable to understandable by the end user. So if some just one know only, just one know the exceptions, these exceptions are, so when these exceptions will come, when these exceptions will not come, something like that. So if there is a end user, let's say Sriram is using, and he doesn't have any knowledge on the Java, so if he is getting array index out of bounds exception when he is using the application, so he'll confuse what exactly it is. Okay, so as he was not aware of it, about the array index out of bounds exception, he'll confuse. So so what we have to do is, we have to instead of giving this kind of system error messages, we used to give the user friendly messages, user friendly user friendly messages. Okay, let me take a one more scenario actually. See, if you go to the ATM, okay, so if you go to the ATM, so let's say you have a balance of 1,000, and you want to uh, you are withdrawing 2,000, you are trying to withdrawing 2,000 at this time. So it will, instead of like giving the user friendly messages, if it is saying that no balance not found, or balance not found exception it is throwing. So let's say if the balance not found exception is throwing, so what the end user will understand, he'll not understand anything. Okay, so what we have to do is, we have to convert this balance not found exception to user friendly message, saying this, uh, please enter, you don't have sufficient funds, you don't have sufficient sufficient funds, please add funds to the account. So this is a simple message, right? Everyone will understand this message. Who knows the English language, they will understand this message. If see, this is can and this exception can be understandable by the Java programmer only. Okay, so this is a user-friendly message. Everyone can understand it. So exception handling is nothing but whatever the system error messages we are generating, we have to convert these system error messages into user-friendly messages. That is called exception handling. Okay, So I'll repeat it. What is exception handling? Let me come to the definition. Exception handling. Exception handling is nothing but, okay, converting the converting the user converting the system error messages to user friendly messages is called exception handling. Okay, system error messages, which is produced by an application. Okay, what we developers wants to do, we want to convert this system error messages cannot be understandable by the end users. So what we have to do, we have to convert these system error messages into user friendly messages. Okay, here we have taken an example, right? So here you can see the balance not found exception is a system error message. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are converting these system error messages into user friendly messages. Okay, so we'll see how we are converting it, how we are giving these user friendly messages in the coming in maybe in the next 30 minutes we'll be seeing that. Okay, so let's understand what exactly error is. So what exactly error is what exactly error is so error. Okay, so here we have two types of errors. They are, one is compile time errors, and second one is runtime error. What is first one is compile time error. When this compile time errors will come? So what exactly compile time errors are? Compile time errors are those compile time errors are those which are occurring because of poor understanding of your language. Okay. See, for example, I told you to write the syntax of, like, I told you to create a variable using the below syntax. Okay. So I have given this syntax to you people. So it'll say int data type variable name equals to some value I told it. So this is the way you have to follow, and you have to create a variable. Now, what if some X person, what he is doing is he is creating a variable, but what he is doing is he is giving more than one value. So at this time, the IDE, the Java will throw IDE. If you are using the IntelliJ or if you are using the Eclipse IDE, it will directly throw that you cannot declare the more than one value for a variable. Okay, so it will throw a compile time error. Compile time error are nothing but so which are occurring at the when you are writing the code, at that time it will be occurring. Okay, when you are running the application, so before executing that particular class, so it will throws an exception and so on so line. We have the error. So please solve that error. So compile time errors are those which are occurring because of the poor understanding of your language. So see an example. This is the example. So I told you to follow this type of I told you to follow this syntax for creating the or initializing a variable. So what you do is what you did is everything you followed it, but instead of assigning one value, you're assigning more than one value. Okay. Let's say one more guy. Let's say the y, there is a y guy and he is creating an array, something like this. Int x equals to new int array. So do you think this is correct? Okay, it is not correct. It is wrong because both side you have to initialize, you have to give square brackets and you have to assign the size as well. Okay, fine. So then only this will the array the size of the array will be created and you can store the value inside this array. Fine. Got it? So these are the some of the examples of the compile time error. Okay, after this class, you may go and you just check it like by giving the wrong syntax, by following the wrong syntax. Okay, and you'll be forced to change the value, actually forced to write the correct syntax. Okay, Fine. So let's see what is runtime error. What is runtime error? What is runtime error? Let's see what is runtime error. Runtime errors are those which are occurring in a program when a user is providing the invalid input. Okay. So let's say, for example, if there is a Facebook application, okay, in Facebook application, we used to provide our username, our we used to provide username, our email ID, okay, and we used to provide the password. Either we can use username or you can use email, right, to log into our Facebook account. So instead of like, in place of username, if I enter password, in place of password, if I enter my username, so will I able to log in? No, it will throws an exception. Please try to use the correct credentials and log into the Facebook, something like that. Okay. So here you are developing application with no errors, but the end user who is giving the input, okay, to log into your Facebook application, he is doing the wrong. Okay, so he is doing the wrong. So at that time you will be getting runtime errors are those which are occurring at the when the application is running. Okay, when the user is entering invalid input, in place of email he is entering password, in place of password he is entering email. At that time you will be getting the runtime errors. Fine. So as these runtime errors need to be converted. See, if I am entering, for example, let's say, as I told you now itself, here we are entering the password and here we are entering the email in place of password. So at that time, the system will be generating a message. Let's say error message, something like that. Let's say it is giving no invalid username and password. So let's say this error message it is throwing Facebook application, it is throwing invalid username and password. See, only this is an exception. This is an exception which is produced by the Facebook application, but the end user don't know about this exception. Okay, so he was not aware of it. What exactly he is trying to convey? The application is trying to convey. So what we have to do is we have to convert these runtime error messages into user-friendly messages. So the Java programmer convert these runtime error messages into user-friendly error messages. Okay. So in Java, okay, come down. In Java runtime environment, to perform any kind of operation, or it can be a operation, or it could be a task, or it could be an action that will be performed with respect to either class or an interface, right? See, we can use either class or interface to perform some action, perform some operation. We'll be executing the methods, okay, from our main class. Okay, so whenever we pass the invalid data, for example, let's say here I have the account services. Okay, so if I am passing not this one, let me take this Aadhaar client application. In my Aadhaar client application, if I am passing null, so it is an invalid, right? So let's say instead of that I'll passing just slash. So here it will throws an exception. Okay, so at this time it will throws an exception. This is not the correct example to take. Okay, I'll take this one. Yeah, this will throws an exception now. See, it is throwing an exception. My application is fine. It's working fine. Aadhaar card client application, it's working fine. It will take mask Aadhaar, it will take Aadhaar number and it will create a mask Aadhaar card. Okay, it will create a mask Aadhaar card. by using this so and so logic. Okay. So now when I am entering the wrong input, okay, the user who is entering the wrong input, so it will directly throws an exception, runtime exception it will be throwing. See, it is throwing the null pointer exception. So why? Because you have not given any data, you just are passing null value. Okay, with null value we cannot mask the Aadhaar card. Okay, so we have to pass the valid information. Let's say I have passed the this is my Aadhaar number and I have passed it. So when I run this application, it should give me Aadhaar, masked Aadhaar, should give some response, right? Okay, forget about the masked Aadhaar, you should give some response. Okay, so it is giving the response when I'm entering the valid data. So if like some people will be like, kind of Surfira guys will be there, so they will be, passing the null value. If they are passing the null value, so it will definitely throws an exception, null pointer exception. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to convert. These are the null pointer exception is occurring at while running our application. Okay. This is a null. This is a runtime exception. What we have to do is we have to convert these null pointer exceptions into user friendly messages. We are saying that we should say by writing the try and catch block. Okay, so whenever this exception is occurring, so you should say that do not enter the null value for Aadhaar number. Okay, the people will understand with that. Okay, let's see how we will do that. Let's see how we will do that. Okay, so in couple of minutes we will be doing that. We will be converting that whatever the exception which is coming. So we will be giving a user friendly messages by converting this random exceptions into user friendly exceptions. So I hope you understood, right? So as we developers, we will be writing the proper code and code is everything, it's working fine. But the thing is that if the end user is providing the wrong input at that time, you will be getting the runtime exceptions. Okay. Okay. So in Java, we have two different types of exceptions. In Java, we have two different types of exceptions. They are predefined and user defined. They are predefined and user defined. As of now, we have discussed what is error, what are the different types of error. Okay, what are the different types of error, and we have seen the types as well. Let's discuss the exceptions. Okay, types of exceptions. Types of exceptions. I'll do one thing. We'll discuss these types of exceptions in the next video. Okay. So as of now, we'll keep it over here itself. We'll stop over here itself. So we let's discuss what we have discussed in this video. So in exception, what is exception handling? Converting the system error messages into user friendly messages is called exception handling. So we have different types of errors in our Java. So they are compile time errors and the runtime errors. Compile time errors are those which are occurring at the if you are compile time errors are those which are occur if you are not following the proper syntax. So at that time the compile time errors will be coming. So runtime errors are those you might have developed the you might have written the proper code, and if the end user is not following the if your end user is not giving the proper input, okay, so you will be getting the runtime errors. Okay, so runtime errors can be converted into runtime errors are nothing but these are the system error messages which are generated by the Java. So we have to convert these system error messages into user friendly messages. Okay, let's discuss the next topic in the next video. Okay.